Today is a good day. Today is a fantastic day. You know why? Because the Chicago Bears win against the Houston Texans 36-7 in a blowout, getting their first ever franchise win against the Houston Texans today. Mr. Trubisky destroying Deshaun Watson. No match.
Best in 2017 draft
We
class.
scored 30 points in the first half. Can you believe this?
Well, then we scored 6 in the second, but...
But we didn't even need to score points. They didn't even score anything.
Defense held them. Defense sacked them. Defense got turnovers. Big defense, strong defense.
They got 6 sacks, a fumble, or 2 fumble recoveries, and a safety. The defense absolutely lit up Deshaun Watson, despite Deshaun Watson doing pretty much everything he could to somehow keep his team somewhat in this game. He still got absolutely lit up by this defense.
Yeah, and I mean, the Houston were riddled with injuries, but so I mean, you couldn't have expected them to win, but still, I mean,
let's go and talk about 10-12.
Yeah,
can you believe this?
Insane, over 120 yards,
123. Allen Robinson, this man right here, 9 receptions, 123 yards, and a touchdown. Can you believe this man?
Incredible. And Mr. Trubisky, 3 touchdowns, like 260-something yards. I mean,
he missed only
I think he had
7 passes.
7 incompletions.
And 5 of them came in the second half.
It was
in the fourth quarter.
Incredible. I mean, if people, I just don't know how you could say Trubisky is not the way to go right now. I mean, he's just playing so well. So well.
If you look back, since the bye, since Trubisky's come back, we scored 25, 30, and 36.
Mm-hmm.
We have put 20-plus points in 3 straight games for the first time this season.
Yep. And, I mean, I know that it's Houston's defense and Detroit's defense, and they're not as good or whatever, but still, I mean, you have to look at it from the perspective of they're being productive. And, I mean, Monty only got 11 carries, and they should have given him more, and granted, his numbers were a little bit because of his 80-yard touchdown run.
On the first play from scrimmage. So, you think about this. This game was out of reach for Houston basically the entire game. Their first play from scrimmage, they let up an 80-yard touchdown run. Their defense was out of it for the entire game.
Yeah.
They had no shot with how their defense played today.
Yeah. It was just... Yeah, they couldn't... It was out of reach, man. And, I mean, Trubisky lit them up. I mean, threw 3 touchdowns, a beautiful one to Jimmy Graham. A good effort, second effort by Mooney, and a really nice ball to Allen Robinson at the end of the half.
Yes. All of them came in the second quarter, by the way.
Yep.
Trubisky doing it again in the second quarter. Third quarter, again, pretty stale. But, get this. We scored offensive points in the third quarter. We now bring our total from 7 offensive points in the third quarter, our only touchdown being against Carolina, to 10 total points in the third quarter this season.
Still counted on 2 hands.
Woo!
Number 10. But, I mean, we got Minnesota next week. You know?
Minnesota lost today to Tampa Bay. Dan Bailey had a nightmare of a game. Missed a PAT. And he missed, I think, 4 field goals?
3 field goals.
3? Okay, 3. It was an absolute nightmare for Dan Bailey. And we don't... Well, if he's going to carry this over until next week...
Well, I mean, you look at the game that we had against the Vikings, and it was really because of the 14 offensive yards in the second half. I mean, you put Mitch Trubisky in that game and say they're in this exact system and mode, then we win that game.
Exactly.
And I think we definitely have the talent to beat the Minnesota Vikings next week.
The stat line going into Week 10 was the Bears had never lost to the Vikings under Nagy. They lost that game partially due to 14 offensive yards in the second half. An atrocious second half effort by the Chicago offense. It's going to be a very interesting game. We
take them over in the division then.
We take them over in the division, 1. 2, that puts it to the split for the division, or in the head-to-head.
Yeah.
And we got to hope for Arizona to lose next week since they took down the Giants pretty handily. They play Philadelphia at home next week. It's going to be a tough ask for the Eagles, but we still have to see how Jalen Hurts does. Yes, we're recording this right after the game, so Jalen Hurts in the Eagles game against New Orleans is just getting started.
Yeah, and really what it comes down to when you look at it forward is the problem is with the Bears' loss. I mean, playoff is possible, but now you're asking other teams to lose/win. And what that is doing is it's taking it out of your hands. I mean, you're like the Bengals in that one season where it was, down to the wire.
Oh, when the Bills made the playoffs in 2017.
Oh, the Bills, sorry, and the Bengals.
Because they had
won.
to ask several favors from other teams, like the Bengals, to beat the Ravens.
But, I mean, going back to the Texans game, I mean, what we did right is the offense moved really well. Really well. The run, the O-line played decently well. They butchered a drive.
Sacks.
They butchered a drive with penalties. The run game kind of was up and down, but Montgomery still is showing to be one of the most talented players on our roster. I mean, he's playing it. Mac finally had his coming out party again.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
Fumble, strip sack, and recovery. Actually, no, it wasn't a strip sack. But a fumble recovery, safety. I mean, he had a great game. Best game of the year for him stat-wise.
Definitely. It goes to show, and we didn't have Akeem Hicks against to Green Bay. We have him against Detroit.
Yeah,
we did
against Detroit.
Okay, but again, it goes to show how important someone like Akeem Hicks is to this team, as it not only is going to free up some man to have to deal with Akeem Hicks and Khalil Mack, and now other members of the defensive line are starting to step up, like Bilal Nichols, Mario Edwards. I think had 2 sacks today.
2 sacks today. Yep. And
everyone on the defensive line's playing great. Roquan Smith's obviously lethal as always.
Yeah, and they got to feed off each other. That was really where they've been, is their mental. They've been losing it recently. Their toughness, their greenness. They were really letting those 6 losses get to them. So if they can keep and stick together and really play hard these next couple of weeks, they can keep playing well. That's the hope, right?
Try to control it as much as they can and control their own destiny.
Yep. Bottom line, I mean, if you get in the playoffs, the entire season is new. Whatever you've done before doesn't matter. It's about how you move forward. I mean, you look at the Giants when they won the Super Bowl. I mean, they went in as the 6th seed, and, they tore it up, and they went all the way, and they beat the Patriots. I mean, it's anyone's game.
Which year are you talking about? Which one?
When the Patriots were 16-0.
Okay, so 2007.
Yeah.
Because 2011, I think they were also a 6th seed.
Yeah. Well, still, regardless, I mean, it doesn't matter. All bets are off when it's in the playoffs, If the Bears finish out the season, the problem is you're expecting, if they want to make the playoffs, they gotta go undefeated the rest of the season, which means beating Green Bay
at home,
which
they're playing Detroit today. Depends on how Detroit plays, because obviously their offense was able to put 400 yards on our defense last week.
Yeah,
and Green Bay, despite how many people say their defense is fantastic, it's pretty good. I won't say it's bad at all.
I'd say
but it's definitely their offenses. They're definitely their better side.
I would say above average D.
It's an above average D, but they can let up some big plays. They're not going to be as stingy as a team like the Steelers.
Yeah,
we played a great game today.
We did.
Komet
played fantastic. I loved Komet. I'm glad we're getting him some more targets. After last week's touchdown catch, it's really showing how versatile he is. And he almost made a really, really incredible catch, but he just got leveled by the defender.
Yes.
So you can't blame him on it.
Now, when I say going into this game, when I saw that, I knew that this game, I knew we were playing Houston this year at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew it was going to be a very tough game because Houston's usually pretty good, especially with Deshaun Watson. And I knew going into this game, the comparisons were just not going to stop. But it was not as much as I expected. Kevin Harlan did not mention it that much. It was mentioned a little bit throughout the first half, but as the second half, we are basically virtually nothing in comparison to past success of Trubisky or Watson.
Yeah,
it was more about the game.
Very satisfying to see in a head-to-head matchup because that was a big thing coming in. Quarterbacks who was taken, and Trubisky outplayed him.
He totally did.
Trubisky had the best statistical game of any of the 2017 quarterbacks today.
Mm-hmm.
Mahomes threw for more yards, but he threw for more yards. But he did throw 3 interceptions, which
3 picks.
Even if you have 50 more yards, 3 picks will outweigh his worst performance.
Oh yeah, and he only had 2 touchdowns. So Trubisky had more touchdowns, no turnovers.
Yep.
He easily performed the best out of the 3 today.
And you know what? I mean, if you couldn't tell me, I'm a Trubisky homer, and I'm just so happy to see it. I just love seeing his success.
Another reason I was nervous was necessarily the Bears have never beat the Texans in franchise history. 0-4 up until this point. Our last game against them in 2012 at home, both teams were 7-1 on Sunday Night Football. We lost 13-6. We ended up finishing 10-6 that year, missed the playoffs, and fired Lovie Smith. Wonderful story. So I was, a little bit nervous. We lost to the Texans 4 years ago in 2016. We didn't beat any team from the AFC South that year. We were 3-13, absolutely garbage. But I had a little bit of hope this year. Seeing how late it was in the year, I was a little bit more concerned. Seeing how they were performing bad in the year, and we were performing good, I was also a little nervous. And seeing how Houston's getting better and we're getting worse, I was a little nervous. That nervousness was gone after the first half.
Yeah.
Not even the first half, the first quarter.
Honestly, like, I can barely recall the second half of the game because I was just chilling. I wasn't even, like, nervous. I was like, man,
because it was already 30-7 at the half.
Because the defense was playing well, I was not worried. Like, Lions game, we were by 14, and I was nervous as hell because defense was playing like garbage. But defense was playing so well where I was like,
defense made a lot of adjustments, and it paid off.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I'm always thinking about Trubisky, and I mean, if he finishes this season up strong, I don't know why, like, at halftime, all they're talking about is, man, Trubisky's shown he'll be a great backup next year. Or whatever team's going for him next, they're going to have a great backup. It's like, well, why can't he earn his job on the Bears? I mean, he's playing fantastically. I mean, he still has some games to prove. I really want to see how.
Yes.
To me, the biggest game for whether or not Trubisky can get re-signed this offseason is the Packers game.
Yes. Can he beat Green Bay?
He is
at home.
Yep.
Worst
statistical game of the year was against the Packers.
Yes.
Trubisky. And can he bounce back? I mean,
and take down a Packers team when he's not favored.
Yeah, I mean, I'm jumping on a little bit. Like, he was getting back in the system, and totally, I mean, he really butchered it. But the bottom line is, that's his big game. If he can come to the Packers, if the Packers come in and he can show up and make big plays, then I think he should earn his job next year. And I don't know what kind of contract you want to do.
Yes.
He didn't pick up a fifth-year option. I don't know how fifth-year options work. I don't know if they can pick it up late in the season, but I don't think so. So
I wouldn't sign him to a long-term deal. I would sign him to maybe 2 years.
Maybe 2 years.
Maybe.
I mean, it's been rocky. I mean, I can't deny that. It's been rocky.
Mahomes and Watson have been more consistent than Trubisky, but Trubisky has shown his signs of greatness.
Well, I think what they're doing is they're adapting the system. They're making it better. I mean, the plays that gained so much yardage this week is, they get the ball. And Trubisky's rolling out, he's looking, he's checking around the field, but he has it was usually like Cole Kmet or Darnell Mooney either coming off the line or coming slant across, and basically he's got that little dump out. But like so many plays, he was looking, no one's there, dumps it off, and it was like 10, 11 yards. I mean, great plays, getting yards. And that was so effective and so efficient. And I think that's what the Bears need to emphasize so much, that mobility, that movement, Trubisky took a couple of bad sacks after the offensive line crashed on him, but overall, though, great game from the offense.
We got Minnesota next week.
Yeah, talking about next week, Minnesota.
If you're looking against them, hang on and just contain Jefferson and Thielen.
Yeah,
that's your biggest concern.
Defense has got to be locked down.
And
Cook up front.
Yes, we got to also stop up front, but we did
well last time.
The last two games we played, or before the bye, we were up against the top two rushing attacks in the league.
And we stopped
Henry and Cook.
Stopped them
both under 100 yards.
It was great. And
no touchdowns. They were silent.
If we can keep that on the front, and then on the back end, Eddie Jackson dropped an easy interception today.
That was the first possession of the game.
I know, but still, it was in his arms, literally in his arms.
Yes.
I'm not going to rip on a guy, but I'm just saying he dropped the interception. So him and Jackson Gibson have got to play well. Fuller and Johnson got to play well. Buster Screen was out today. Duke Shelley looked all right.
He played good.
He led a couple catches, but everyone does.
Houston was down pretty much their three top receivers in Cooks, who was injured, Fuller, who was suspended, and Randall Cobb, who was on IR.
And Stills got released.
Yes.
So they were really, really.
So their core basically they had forfeited the season. If you take a look at it like that. But their receiving core was just gone.
You can say, oh well, yeah, most of the receiving core was gone. They were using a backup running back, offensive line. But for the Bears, looking at it, it was a huge statement win. You look, we barely beat the Giants earlier this year.
Yes, at home.
It takes a good team to destroy a bad team. You had to.
Yes.
So, but it's so much after that 6-game losing streak to come out and have a really, really, really solid game, no major screw-ups, and just coming out and winning. It'll push that momentum, that confidence. The energy was so different today from the Bears.
That is what I'm looking at majorly. Doesn't matter that the Texans' wide receiver core was battered down. If they had that receiving core, do you really think they would have put up 40 points? Because the Bears scoring 36 points has nothing to do with the receiving core being injured. If they had it there, probably got a couple more touchdowns. Let's be real.
Maybe. I mean,
Probably got at least, they would have at least had 14 points. Because there were several times where they got down there and they missed a fourth down conversion or drop pass in the end zone. So you look at it. How can the Bears take this momentum and see what they did right here and push it forward into the next game where they have a much tougher receiving core, a much tougher running back?
Very good offense.
It is a very good offense. They need to do what they did today. It's going to be closer. We all know it. It's going to be a close game. It's not going to be as easy as this game was. Very exciting win. First ever franchise win against the Houston Texans.
Great game.
Very happy.
Yep. No.
Next week, we got the Vikings.
No.
And that's going to do it for us here.
All right.
Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see more from us.
Yep.
And we'll see you next time.